Human beings think constantly. From the moment we wake up, our minds generate thousands of thoughts, weaving stories, predictions, and interpretations about what's happening and what might come next. Many of these thoughts are helpful. They guide planning, problem solving, and creativity. But others, especially those rooted in fear or comparison or past pain, can quietly distort how we see and interact with the world. Have you ever noticed yourself having a thought and then seconds later, that exact thing that you were worried about comes to fruition? Or maybe you've noticed how one small thing in your mind, one small mistake, can become a whole story that you tell yourself. That single thought, like, I should have done better, can spiral into guilt, shame, or self-doubt. That's not weakness. That's your mind trying to protect yourself. So reflect on a recent moment when your mind made something feel bigger than it was. What was the story it told you? You're listening to The Happiness Hack with Tim Coulson, the podcast where we blend positive psychology, strength-based healing, and real-world tools to build more happiness, resilience, and personal growth into our everyday lives. In this episode, we're exploring how your thoughts and emotions act as messages. They're not facts, and how learning to diffuse from distorted thinking can change everything. You'll find practical ways to unhook from self-criticism, reframe the negative thinking, and then build the kind of mental flexibility that helps you to feel calm, capable, and in control. So first off, we need to understand our cognitive distortions. This is a core tenet of cognitive behavioural therapy, something that was first founded by Beck way back in the 60s and 70s. In the model, cognitive distortions are habitual patterns of thinking that twist our reality. They're like shortcuts that our brain takes to help us make sense of the world, but often they create unnecessary pain. Some of the more common examples are all or nothing thinking. Maybe you've had the thought, if I can't do this perfectly, I'm not going to bother doing it at all. Or catastrophizing. If this one thing goes wrong, then everything is going to fall apart. Or personalising. It's my fault that people are upset. These distortions feel real because they trigger real emotions. But the thing is, they're not the truth. They're habits of your mind. Do some of these thinking patterns show up for you? Which ones are keeping you stuck and draining your energy? Because every thought sparks a chain reaction. It literally shapes how we feel, and then how we feel influences what we do next. When the thought is distorted, then our reaction and our action is going to be distorted too. Maybe that's how anxiety, perfectionism, low self-confidence got reinforced in you. You had the distorted thought, I can't do this, which reinforced your decision not to go ahead and do it, which in turn made sure that you definitely couldn't do it. This comes back to being able to recognize the distortions. This gives you back choice. This isn't about positive thinking, about wishing things were better, about just being happy all the time. But what it is about naming the feeling accurately. Because when we can be assessing our thoughts and accurate thinking, then we can understand our emotional responses. Think back to the last time that you reacted emotionally. What was the thought that came before the feeling? Was there a distortion that went through it? Because if there was, this is where we're going to take it one step further today. We're going to combine our knowledge of cognitive distortions with the ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, hexaflex, and specifically cognitive diffusion. Cognitive diffusion is one of the 6 core processes in the ACT hexaflex. It's about learning to see your thoughts as just that, thoughts, not facts. In cognitive diffusion, we start to create distance between ourselves and our mind's commentary. You become an observer, not the prisoner of your thoughts. Now, the shift won't suppress emotion, but it does allow you the space to choose your response and to act with clarity rather than compulsion. I want you to imagine your thoughts like cars passing by you on a busy road. Diffusion is the act of stepping back onto the footpath rather than standing in that traffic. The thoughts can race by, and we simply step back and observe and let them go. What would change in your life if you could notice those thoughts without being pulled into the urge of having to act on them? This is where the bridge between ACT and CBT, between awareness and action, can help us to really take our knowledge and our control of our thoughts up a level. CBT helps you to identify what you're thinking. ACT helps you to change your relationship with those thoughts. Together, they create a full circle approach to mental well-being. We become aware of it, we accept it, and we take action towards it. Because you can't always stop your unhelpful thoughts, but what you can do is stop fusing with them. You can stop acting based on those thoughts, and that's where freedom begins. Here's a simple, actionable step to go through. First off, next time you have a distracting or unwanted thought, label it and add a phrase. I'm having the thought that. This simple phrase separates you from the content of that thought. So, for example, I'm having the thought that I'm not enough. Now I want you to really zone in on it. Get specific. Name it for what it is. I'm not enough? Hang on a minute. That's personalising and it's catastrophising because awareness weakens the grip of the thought. It allows us to ground into the present. It shifts those focuses back to our senses. I'm having the thought that I'm not enough. That's catastrophising and that's personalising. I'm here, I'm standing, I'm moving forward. That's the key final step. We need to reframe our thought with compassion. Imagine that you're talking to a good friend or your child, and they've come up to you and said, I'm not enough. How are you going to respond? Because when we respond to ourselves with a little bit of self-compassion, our internal tone changes immediately. We start to understand the deeper message. We start to look at our thoughts simply as messengers, not masters. Sure, they're bringing in a whole bunch of emotion, a whole bunch of information, but that's simply what it is. Your thoughts and emotions are messages from your nervous system. They're things for you to identify, but not to create your identity around. You don't have to believe every message, but you do need to listen, learn, and decide what serves you. The goal here isn't to control our mind, but it is to build enough space between that initial stimulus so that we can slow down, identify the cognitive distortion, put in place some cognitive diffusion, and then begin to choose a response that we consciously want to make. Because here's the key difference. When we run on our thoughts as identity, we are reacting. We're not fully in control. There's a degree of impulsivity in there. But when we choose a little bit of cognitive diffusion, identify the cognitive distortion, we start to gain the ability to respond. So here's where your happiness hack for the week is going to come in. We're going to use the unhooking routine. It consists of 4 N's. Notice, name, normalise, nurture. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pause and notice when we're having a feeling. We're going to notice that we've identified a thought, but we're going to be really careful here not to fuse with it. Instead, we're going to name it, label it. I'm having the thought that dinner's not going to be good. That's catastrophising. We're going to then normalise it. Remind ourselves, it's normal to have thoughts, and it's normal to have thoughts like this. Finally, we're going to nurture it, reconnect with our values. What matters to me right now? It matters that someone made the effort to cook dinner for me. That's the beauty of the unhooking routine. We can notice, name, normalise, and nurture. And every time we do that, we're training our brain to start to respond rather than react, to use thoughts as signals that prompt our behaviour, not shackles that drag us towards the behaviour. Your mind will always produce thoughts. That's what it's designed to do. The human brain is the best problem solver ever created. And when we don't give it problems to solve, then it finds problems to solve. What we do here is we get to decide which ones deserve our attention. Where are we going to place our focus? Because when we respond rather than react, we're consciously choosing what we want to do. True happiness isn't about controlling our inner world, but it is about beginning to master how we relate to it. When we learn and reinforce that our thoughts are just words, emotions are just energy. Quite literally, emotion is energy in motion. And you are more than both. You are in control. With cognitive diffusion and cognitive distortions, we can start to reframe our thoughts and our mindset. We can start to challenge those negative beliefs. We can start to push through limiting self-beliefs. Remember, your thoughts are just that. They don't have to guide your actions. You are in control of what you do next. If this episode helped you to see your mind a little more clearly, I would love for you to subscribe to the Happiness Hack with Tim Coulson. Or maybe it resonated and you want to share it with someone who's ready to build a calmer, stronger mindset. And if you're ready to go even deeper, why not book a session online with me? tim-coulson.com. That's tim-coulson.com. And remember, guys, as always, the day is what you make it.